Hi guys, it's Lola, just Lola, and welcome back to Turn the Page, the podcast where two sisters catch up over books, reviews, and all the juicy bits in between. So if you remember, we stopped abruptly because this episode was getting way too long. So this is page 6C, so it's a three-parter, and listen to part A and part B to get the full sense, but we'll jump right back into part 4 of plot points, and then we'll end with reads, receipts, and then an outro. So this was The Invisible Life of Addie La Rue, by V.E Schwab, and I hope you like, comments, all the things Kim says, and all the links should be in our description. So yeah, let's just get right into it, guys.
Plot point. So part 4 is basically Henry's part. We go from Henry's point of view throughout this whole part, if I remember correctly. So we've just ended part 3 with finding out that Henry made a deal, and then we start off part 4 with finding out how Henry's gone through life. So in his entire life, Henry's always been labeled as sensitive, he feels too much, and he's been labeled this by his friends and family. Apparently he feels every emotion really strongly. Like if somebody passes away, he feels the grief really strongly. If there's something good happening, he feels the happiness really strongly. He's got these really big highs and really big lows. So for him to calm these things down, from an early age, he started drinking, taking alcohol, weed, benzodiazepines, all that good stuff. He was taking, not all that good stuff, but he's doing all of that stuff. So he's going through it as a child, he's self-medicating, and then we get to when he turns 28. And this is when his life kind of just deteriorates. So he turns 28 and meets somebody called Tabitha, and he falls in love with her instantly. They are dating for, I think, 2 years or so, and he then proposes to her. He proposes to her in September 2013. Tabitha says no. She says, "You're great, you really are, but you're not, ... And I was just like, oh, Henry. Oh. I was like, oh, Henry.
Also note the date, 2013.
Yeah. September 2013. So she kind of trails off, and Henry clocks on that, yeah, this ain't gonna work. He kind of just walks off. He takes the answer of no, because you're not enough. So he's depressed. He gets drunk with his friends. His friends are trying to commiserate with him. Then he clocks on that his friends knew that she would probably decline. So he walks off with a bottle of vodka. He's drinking, getting wasted, and I think he drops the bottle of vodka and he starts to bleed, or something happens, something to do with blood, because this is noticed in the present when I think Addie sees the ring and the blood-stained handkerchief, so he keeps it all. But yeah, so that happens, and he is drunk off his mind. So he's now getting to his apartment building. He just sits on his floor. He's depressed. He's upset. And somebody sits next to him, and bearing in mind it's raining, he clocks that the person that sat next to him doesn't get wet. So he's a bit confused, but obviously he's drunk, it's whatever. The person that sat next to him, we clock on, is the stranger. He starts to ask Henry, like, what's going on? Are you okay? What do you want? And after pushing him, Henry says that he desires more than anything to be loved by all. So the stranger says, I can grant that wish as long as you pay the price. And Henry, Lola highlighted before that when she was talking about the characters, about the theology course that Henry was on before. So Henry does know a bit about religion. So as soon as he said that, he clocked on that, okay, so you want my soul. He doesn't really believe, so he was just like, fine, whatever, I'll give you my soul. So they make this deal, and then you go to the present. So in 2014 is the present. Henry is telling Addie about the deal he made with the stranger, and Addie's just like, now I can see why you remember me. This is great. You remember me because we both made deals. Like, she's really happy about this. And so she says to him, he's like, how long does your deal last? Henry says, a lifetime. Okay. All right, guys. Just remember that.
Yeah, even when he said that, I was like, oh, something's weird here.
Isn't it? And I think even Addie clocks that something's weird, but she doesn't push. So she always says that you could tell when he's not answering or saying something, but she's learned not to push because she doesn't want to break this fragile thing that she thinks. So we have that happening. So they're still living in bliss. Harry, Addie's working in the bookstore because, you know, what else is she going to do? And Harry is just kind of watching her in the bookstore, and he starts to clock on. He's like, oh, that a lot of the things that the books that she's reading or touching, she's had some sort of influence. So they're pushing this narrative of the fact that Addie is the reason behind, I think, even Shakespeare. I'm pretty sure she says Shakespeare at one point. So, or no, Luke says Shakespeare, but they kind of highlight that point. Going back to September 2013, you go back to the night after Henry made this deal. He wakes up with a hangover. He's just like, oh gosh, like that must have been a dream. It's like, whatever. It's a lie. That nothing could have happened. Then he clocks on. He's got this watch that's attached to his wrist, which he finds weird because he's never worn a watch in his life. And he clocks that the hand on the watch sits just past midnight, but it's not really moving. The only thing that's on the watch is a note that says "Live well," which does Henry do? No.
And when Addie and Thingy first slept together, she saw the watch.
And I think she just saw it and just like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, so it's kind of like going back to that. So yeah, so Henry wakes up hungover, and he has a knock on his door, and the first person that basically sees him after this deal is his sister Muriel, and she's just like, hey Henry, you look good. And he's just like, no, I don't. I am hungover. I look like shit. So he's kind of confused. They talk, and then she leaves, and he's just like, that was weird. Because she's like, why don't we hang out more? Like, being all friendly like a sibling would be. But remember, they don't have that kind of relationship. So he's a bit like, oh, okay, that's strange. Then he goes to a local coffee shop where he sees a barista called Vanessa, who has never given him a second glance before. She usually just takes his order and just, you know, keeps it moving. This time, though, she actually looks at him. And this is when he clocks there's like a sort of shimmer in her eye. Like all this glazing in her eye, where she kind of looks at him and is just like, hi, like, nice to meet you kind of thing, ask for his name and all that other jazz.
Which also, when going back to when he said, what do you see when you, what do you see when you look at me? I think maybe he was looking at her eyes too, because everyone has that glazed over eye thing when they look at him.
But then if she wasn't.
Oh, but then she might. Yeah.
But then were her eyes glazed?
Well, then maybe that's why he had to ask her, because maybe her eyes were glazed, but he still had to ask her.
Yeah, maybe you're right. So he's clocking on something is weird because she's attracted to him. And when he gets his coffee, he clocks, like, she draws like a little arrow on the cup and then points downwards, and she's actually written her phone number on the bottom of the cup and was like, call me. Then he goes back to work at the last word, and even an elderly woman is really like keen to speak to him. She's looking for this book, and she gives like a really vague description of the book, and Henry picks a book that he thinks it is, but then she was like, yes, that's definitely the book. But he clocks on straight away that I don't think that is the book, but she seems to think it's a book, so okay.
In the beginning, I thought that was just that thing like, okay, I don't want to embarrass you kind of thing.
I was laughing because I was just like, yeah, she's probably just like, yeah, you don't know either, so okay. And then she gets to the till, and he's just like, no, this is going to really bother me. I'm pretty sure that's not the right book. So then he gives her the right book. She's really happy again, and he's just like, oh, that was the same reaction to the other book, but okay. So he's still not really clocking on. He just thinks these instances are weird, but he's not clocking on that something's changed. Then he sees Robbie, who arrives at the store, and he comes and gives him a hug because remember, you know, he's broken up with his girlfriend. Robbie throws his arms around him, and B turns up as well, and both of them are being like overly nice. I think Robbie holds him for a bit longer than he usually would and stuff like that, but you know, he's just like, okay, these people are commiserating with me, they're my friends. So he still doesn't really clock on. Things are weird, but he still doesn't clock on. Coming back to the present, you have so we're in present. I think it's like March 2014. Remember that March. He made this deal September 2013. So we're coming back to the present. They're in the store. B comes in. She does that whole spiel again of, oh, who are you? And then Henry kind of introduces her. She says, oh, you look like a timeless beauty. Addie says, oh, I've heard that before. They do that whole spiel. And B says that she's been at a place or an exhibition called the Artifact, which is quite exciting. They like get involved with like paint and stuff like that. So Addie's quite excited. So she says to Henry, can we go? And they make a plan to go. So they ask B to take over the shop and they make their way to the Artifact. Getting back to the past. So we're back in 2013 and Henry is just trying to figure out life because obviously he's broken up with Tabitha. He's dealing with her stuff. And then I think this is when he clocks more and more men and women are just talking to him, just find him attractive. And he's just like, all right, something is weird. And then he clocks on that, okay, that conversation I had with the stranger was real and I did make a deal. So this is when he starts to see it. In the beginning, he does enjoy it. He does enjoy the fact that everybody is loving him up. He's like, this is fantastic. He's just like, look, everybody's doing it. Straight men, women, like all sorts of people are giving him attention. But they also have this weird glint in their eye that he's just like, that is weird. So that's what so he knows that something's not right, but he's enjoying it for now. Then we go back to the present. And they're talking about a bit more about Addie, and Addie highlights to Henry about the fact that she is the woman in a few of the portraits. So B's been looking into the fact that there's this woman that through time and through art is seen quite often, and Addie does highlight, yes, I am the woman and I did inspire these things. She says that I can't hold a pen, I can't tell a story, I can't wield a weapon or make someone remember, but art is about ideas and ideas are wilder than memories. So I think this is something that she kind of takes from Luke, and so she says it to Henry and he's aware that that's how she's been able to get through being remembered in time. Going back to the past, we have a family dinner that Henry is at, and this is where I think it probably creeps him out a bit more because he notices that all of his family members are really nice to him. Even though he turns up late, his dad's really nice to him, his brother's really nice to him, his mum's really loving to him. And he's just like, even though he knows it's not real, he still kind of enjoys the fact that, like, is this how it can be? Gosh, Teddy's just staring in the background. Just staring in the background. I just clocked him.
Teddy is my youngest dog.
So he just clocks like, is this how life could be if we all just got on? And it's that whole fakeness around it. How does he deal with that fakeness? Then going back to the present, we have Henry and Addie just enjoying the Artifact, which is the name of the exhibition that they're in. Going back to the past. So now we get back into how it starts to go a little bit.
Present and past is like a year, by the way, guys.
Yeah, to be fair. September 2013 to March 2014. So in the past, you have Henry going on a date with Vanessa, the barista from the coffee shop that gave him his number. You know, things are going okay. He's enjoying getting to know her. They're in his flat one day, and bearing in mind, they'd only been dating a week, and Vanessa starts to crash out a little bit. She tells him she loves him, and he's just a bit like, whoa, okay, this is a bit much. I don't know if I feel the same way, but I'm just going to go have a shower.
And he knows she doesn't feel the same way, really.
Yeah, because he knows that this isn't real. He's just enjoying it, but he knows it's not real. So he goes to have a shower, comes out, and then I think this is when he starts smelling burning. And turns out Vanessa's burning Tabitha's things in the sink. She's just like, you don't love me right now because you're still thinking about Tabitha. And he's like, bro, it's been a week. And she's just like, yeah, but I love you. It's like, it's been a week. Like, so because he kicks her out, he's just like, this is too much. He is able to get her away by saying that, you know, I still really care about you and all this other stuff, and I'll call you. And she's like, you'll call me? She's like, yeah, I'll call you. You just need to leave. So she leaves. We don't actually hear about Vanessa again. after that. Then you start to see how this is affecting him with his friends. He goes to I think it's B's place, and they're watching horror movies or something with B and Robbie. And they go to Henry. What happened? Why did it get weird? Yes, so they're watching horror movies, and Robbie puts his arm or hand on Henry's leg for a little bit too long. Henry gets up and is just like, you know, I'm gonna go make popcorn for everybody. He goes to make popcorn, and Robbie's like, oh, I'll follow you. And he's just like, you don't need to, it's just popcorn. And he's just like, no, I'll follow you. So he goes to the kitchen where he tries to kiss Henry, and Henry's like, whoa, I know you don't really like me like that because you broke up with me back in the past. And he's just like, no, but you've changed, you've become so much better, you know what you want now. And that's when he starts to clock on. He's just like, what? Like, he starts to see that people are seeing what they want of him, not what they're not really they don't like him for who he is. They just like him for what they want from him. And what Robbie wanted, and the reason why he broke up with Henry, was that Henry didn't know who he was. He was not ambitious. I don't know what the word was, but he's just a floater, wasn't it? So that's why he was just like, still figuring at this point. Yeah, he's still trying to figure out life. And that's why at this point, when he's just like, of course I like you. I've always loved you. Like, you've changed. You know what you want with your life now. You're good. And and he's just like, whoa, this is too much. So that happens. And he starts to avoid poor Robbie. And after that, he is going to a coffee shop and he runs into Tabitha, the ex-girlfriend. And he's just like, oh shit, okay. And she tells him like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you again. Like, are you okay? And all this other stuff. And, you know, he's like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine. And then she's like, I still love you. Like, it was a mistake for me to reject your proposal. And then he was a bit like, oh, but no, I think she said like, but you broke up with me. And she's like, no, I didn't. You broke up with me because you're the one that left after I said no, I didn't mean to reject your proposal. And then he's getting excited. He's thinking, oh wow, this is perfect. Then he starts to look at her eyes and he sees the fog in her eyes. And that's when he knows that whoever she's looking at ain't Henry. It never was and it never will be. Poor Henry. No, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Henry. So we carry on seeing the impact of this curse on Henry, because he runs into his old PhD advisor, and this is the Dean Melrose that Lola was talking about earlier. And despite the fact that back in the past, the Dean had threatened to kick him out of school because Henry was whatless, he's now like, oh my gosh, Henry, just the person I was thinking about. Henry's like, sorry? You're thinking about me? He's like, yes, oh my gosh, it'll be really good to like get you in and talk to you, because, you know, I would really love to offer you a position. And he's like, a position of what? You know, like, we didn't really have a good experience the last time. I haven't actually finished my degree. And he's just like, no, this will be fantastic. I think you'll be amazing to do a teaching position. I want to give you tenure. And tenure is like one of these things that, you know, it's very coveted. Like, everybody wants tenure. Like, you are set if you get tenure. And he's just like, what? So he says that he'll think about it, and he goes away to supposedly think about it. They do meet up later, and he clocks on that, yes, this is also a problem with the curse. That's why he's acting this way. So we go to the New Year's Eve party. So this is when 2013 turns into 2014. And although Henry at first is having a really good time with the curse, he's starting to feel really held down by the curse. He doesn't feel comfortable with everything. Like, everybody loves him at this party. Like, there's a point where this handsome man is like kissing him off, like wants to like take him away and do things with him. And he's just like, why did you like me? What is it that you like about me? And the guy's like, you're sexy. Why wouldn't I like you?
Why should you give him an accent? Is this the audio book?
To be fair, it wasn't an accident. But yeah, he's just like, he can't take it anymore. He starts taking pills. He's stressed. So he goes outside, and B meets him outside. And I think this is when he clocks, because in the beginning, when his curse hits, he didn't think B was hit by the curse. then he gets outside and B comes outside and is like, "Oh, like, what are you okay? Is everything all right?" He's just like, "I'm just feeling really overwhelmed. I'm stressed. Like, I just feel like," I think he even says like, "I'm running away from Robbie because I know he loves me and all this other stuff and he needs a pep talk." And so B's just like, "You're fine. Like, it's okay." And then he asks like, "What do you see?" I don't even think he asks. I think he does maybe ask her, like, "What do you see when you look at me?" And then she says stuff like, "I see my best friend. Like, you're an amazing listener. You're a fantastic friend." And she starts saying these things, and he's just like, "Ah, damn, they got you too." Because he's not an amazing friend and he's not a really good listener. And he actually says instances of the fact that there's been times where she's called him out for not listening and stuff. So she's just like, "Ah, damn." So he's starting to understand this is the deal. People are going to love me off. And I know that they do. They'll have the cloudiness in their eyes. So he's aware that that's happening. So for now, when he's with Addie, he feels like this is the first time he's actually been seen. And like Lola says, I think that's why he bonds with her so heavily, because he's like, you're treating me normally in comparison to everybody else around me. And one thing to highlight is that Addie had clocked on how people view him on the outside world when they were going on dates. She was just like, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird how people are so attracted to this man. It's very strange. But she didn't really take too much notice of it. Whereas now we actually understand that it probably is quite weird that he's getting all these looks and stuff when they're out and about. And that's not the end of part 4. So we go back to the present whilst they're at this exhibit, and part of the exhibit is that they get to use paint and they get to smear all over the walls. So she's aware that she can't do it. So she tries to do it. And then every time she puts some paint on the walls, it fades because she can't make any impact. So then he does it. And then obviously it does do it. Then she uses...
It was his idea.
Yes.
Because he pushed her to do it. And
guide my hand.
I can't. And then he was like, he felt really
bad, didn't he?
Yeah.
Then he was like, "Oh, guide my hand and I'll do the painting." And so he does it. She's expecting that it's not going to work, but it does, and it stays there. And she gets him to write her name, Addie, and that's when she's like, "Oh my gosh." And it's like, this is how it starts. But no, that's not what happened. Oh, it gets really like frantic because she's like, finally when she clocks on, like, I can write or I can make some sort of impact. She like pulls him all the way home, he says, through the subway, on the train, and they get home, and then she pulls out a notebook, and then she holds his hand, and then they start writing, and then he writes, this is how it starts. So basically writing her story. And that is the end of part 4.
Yeah. I didn't get the point of Henry's background. I didn't think it was necessary. I don't know if we needed to make it more action punching-y. I don't know. Because I made a note saying I should Google what was the point of the relevance of the backstory, because I actually didn't get anything from it personally.
I think it was just to flesh out his curse, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was it, really. Just to
I could have
flesh
just
out his
known
curse.
the Tabitha bit. I didn't need to know the whole thing with his family and stuff and Robbie and all of that.
It's true, because we did Tabitha, Vanessa, the professor or the dean, like his family. Yeah, you're right. We didn't need to go through all these people to find out, like, yeah, you got this weird curse. Like, we could have probably done Tabitha, maybe your family, and then the New Year's party.
Also, when the writer talks about New York, she goes on and on in such a romantic language about New York. But when she talks about France, she doesn't give it that same vibe. And I felt it was very biased because we're not from there. So it's like, I don't really get all this rambling about New York and how great it is and how she's so in love with New York and all of this stuff. And I was like, this book is supposed to be about like a French woman. You would think it would be the other way around. I thought that was very bizarre. It came through a lot for me. Because it came across like this is the author's personal views bleeding through, because that bit is supposed to be in third person. So it's like breaking the fourth wall.
I think it shows, this is just my thoughts, that she just knows New York more than France.
But how?
No?
Your home. I don't know.
I'm talking about the author. Maybe she knows New York more than France.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's like breaking the fourth wall, because it's like this is the writer's personal bias bleeding through kind of thing. Because it was just all these long ramblings about New York streets and all of these places in New York and stuff like that, and we didn't get really the same for France.
That's true, actually. You're right. There's no real description of France, considering how many places she did. To be fair, no real description of any of the European countries she goes to. Yeah, you're right. Very, very right. Yeah, no, fair. Alrighty, part 5. This part's quite short. So, the way this starts is we go back to the past. Remember that Addie always goes back every so often to see the build-up of Villon. And so she arrives, she's looking at the graves, she's looking at the house. She decides that she wants, because she sees Estelle's grave. Apologies, I think I said it in the other part about the grave, but she actually sees the graves this part. And she's always known that Estelle always wanted to be buried under a tree. So she takes a sapling and puts it on top of her grave so that it will grow into a tree that will shade over her, which I thought was a very cute thing. And then Luke arrives. Basically, he's just taking the piss out of her. He's just like, "Rah, is this what you're doing? You've come back to Villon, blah, 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 all this other stuff, just taking the piss." And then she gets angry and slaps him. And it shocked her, it shocked him, because she makes it just like, even he was shocked, because she was expecting her hand to just pass through him, but it actually hit him. And then he kind of like flexes and is just like, "Look, you're acting like we're on the same level." So he causes stabbing pains throughout her whole body. And I think that's the first time she was afraid of him, because of the fact that he could hurt her if he wanted to. And then he takes her youth. He says to her, he's just like, "Look, I've allowed you to have your youth to go through life. I could have sucked your youth dry. I could have sucked your health dry and leave you to be in pain, and leave you to walk through the earth like this." And she's kind of just huddled all over the floor after what he's done. And then he laughs, eases her pain, and then vanishes, basically telling her about herself. Exactly. I always feel like in these kind of things that people underestimate what they're dealing with. But it's probably because they've been going on for so long. She's probably thinking she got too comfortable. And then we go to the present, where Henry clocks on that Addie doesn't have a home because she's always at his. And then she says, "Oh, trying to be polite, I think I should probably leave." And he's just like, "Oh, but where are you going?" And that's where he clocks she doesn't have a home, and offers for her to stay with him indefinitely. And while he showers, this is when she's looking through the notebooks about what he's written so far about her life, because she's seen that it's able to be written down. She has that bit of a moment, and I think, what else happens here? I think that was it, really, but it's just a cute moment where they're now living together. Going back to the past, Addie is in France, and she's by the coast, and she's reading a book called, I think it's called The Tempest or something. Luke arrives and he boasts, this is where he boasts about the Shakespeare thing, that he was there when Shakespeare wrote that play. He takes her into a church, and Addie's kind of shocked that he's able to enter the church, because she's like, "Right, I thought you're the devil. How are you able to enter the church?" And he's just like, "Look, it's fine. I can do whatever I want." And he's just being cheeky with her, saying weird shit to her, and they're just having this back and forth sparring match. Then you go back to the present, where Henry's doing this weird thing, and he does it before, where he wants to take Addie out, and he doesn't like it if Addie's done things already. So because Addie's been living, and this is even before Addie told him about her curse, because even the cinema, when they went to go watch the movie,
got so pissed off.
Yeah, he got really annoyed that she had already watched the movie, and he was just like, why would you want to watch it again? And she's like, because I don't mind, I enjoyed it. So this kind of happens again where he wants to take her out and he takes her somewhere and she's just like, oh, I've already been here, but it's nice, I don't mind. And he gets really annoyed and he's just like, okay, I'm going to take you somewhere you've never been before. So he takes her to Grand Central Station and she's like, okay, buddy, I've been to this station. And then he does this thing where he tells her to wait by a wall. He speaks in a certain way where it gets to her and they have this cute moment. All right, moving on.
Yeah, I really.
Oh, go on.
No, I thought the part was finished.
Yeah, and so it's just like a lot of This is where I can see why people were probably annoyed with the author, because there's a lot of shit going on in this part. This is a point where we find out that Addie, does she try to be a spy? She's a spy at one point. She's trying to be a spy, and she gets thrown in jail because she gets caught, and Luke appears and saves her, drops her in Florence, and she's stuck in Florence for a little bit where this is where, what does she do? She meets somebody else here. So I can see why people are annoyed, because you could have probably fleshed out what was going on at the time, because you're saying that you don't want... But then I can see why, because Addie is inherently selfish. She probably is just like, these things, as long as it doesn't affect me, I don't care. But I did think...
We were focusing too much on Henry, though. So...
True.
I felt the same. I was like, why is he so obsessed about if Addie has seen or done something before, even considering his deal? I don't get what that has to do with you. So.
No. I think that's a thing for him, because he was very frustrated. Then we go back to the present where Addie and Henry go for dinner, and Addie tries to leave without paying because that's what she's been doing from day dot. And Henry gets on his high horse and is like, no, we're not doing that. And to be fair, this is the second time this has been highlighted to her, because this is what Luke was trying to explain to him. Is it's like, look, every time you disappear on people without paying or stealing things, somebody is impacted by this. So at first she's a bit annoyed with the way he talks to her, but she does understand it, but she's still annoyed. So she kind of leaves. And remember, she's never been in a relationship before. So at this point she's thinking, oh, I guess it's over. Like, this is ruined. I've ruined it by getting so upset. And he's just like, oh no, babes, it was just our first fight. It's okay. It's all right. But, she starts to understand what a relationship is. Then we go back to the past, and you're still seeing how Addie's able to impact artists. And this is where you meet Matteo, who's an artist who she'd spent a night with. He can't actually remember her, but he's mesmerized by the way she looks. So he starts drawing her while she is sleeping, or I think after she wakes up. And then this is how she clocks on about leaving her mark. And then what else happens? I think it was just a lot of back and forth. This is the Beethoven part as well. So we have this instance where you hear... So we're going back and forth. Now she's in London. So this is... she's basically going all over the world. She's now in London, and she's going to the National Gallery, which she loves. And the reason why she loves it is because she's seen some of the works of art that she's had her mark on, because she is a bit of a narcissist. So she's going around seeing the things that she's been involved with or she has influenced. So I don't think I said in the beginning, the name of this chapter is part is The Shadow Who Smiled and the Girl Who Smiled Back. The name of part 4 was The Man Who Stayed Drier Than Rain. So back into part 5. So I want to concentrate more on the dynamics between Luke and Addie, because that's kind of developing in this part in comparison to Henry and Addie, which is fine. That's happening present. They're going on with their relationship, but I want to concentrate on these two. So at one point, Addie is, like we said, at the National Gallery, and this is where she is going through looking at all the pictures that she's inspired, and Luke turns up and he's taunting her again, taking the piss out of her, and was like, oh, look at you, thinking you're so great because you've been able to leave some sort of impact. You think you're smart because you've been able to leave some sort of impact by existing through art. And she's kind of just like, yeah, well, at least I was able to do it. And then she says, like, why are you even here? Like, I could tell that you're lonely. So that annoys him. That pisses him off again. And he takes her into a void, which then comes out and the other side, and we're now with Beethoven. Or at the point you meet him, he's this deaf, sickly man sitting at a piano trying to compose, and he begs for mercy. Luke just steals his soul, and that's when it kind of puts her back in check. Like, I know we fight like he's a human, he's not human. In the present day, you have Henry being adamant about trying to take a photo of Addie. Addie's explained to him already, like, I can't be preserved in photos. So there's a whole bunch of photos that he takes where she's blurred. And then if I remember correctly, he does take a picture, I think holding, does she hold his hand or something? But she's able to get something.
It's like a foot or something of hers is in a photo, yeah.
Yeah. So then you're just like, oh, some sort of progress. But then yeah, so going back to the past with the dynamics between Luke and Addie, you have Addie going back to beyond, where she sees that the tree that she planted is bearing, is growing, and it's starting to shade over Estelle. So she's happy to see that. Luke turns up and he's just like, you must be tired. Are you all right? Like, you sure you don't want to end this now? She's like, yeah, I'm tired, but I'm still happy to be around. Then you have in the present, Addie she takes Toby to a venue. It's like a nightclub or something where they have artists that come up on the stage and start singing. And this is where we see Toby, who comes onto the stage and he plays a song that they wrote together. And it's basically a song where he says the wording like, oh, that I dream of this girl, or I don't remember her, or like, I wish I could remember her, stuff like that. He's singing about Addie. She's overwhelmed by the memories and leaves. Henry clocks on that this must be somebody she knows, and he comforts her. Then we go back to the past, and like I said, this part is more of a development of their relationship, Luke and Addie. So she's trying to get onto this train in Berlin when the porter, usually she's able to sneak past, and as long as she's able to get through, the person will let her by because they forget her. But this porter follows her because she says that, oh, I left my ticket in my room. So he's just like, okay, bitch, if you left your ticket in your room, let me follow you and get this ticket. And she's like, shit, he's going to follow me. Unless I can get into that room and lock the door quick enough, he's going to clock. So she tries to get to this room and tries to open it, and it clocks that the room's not empty. But guess who's in the room? It's good old Luke, and he's able to help her. And he takes her into the dark again, and they end up somewhere else. I think it's Munich or something. And this is where he takes her to an opera. And she's trying to be all cool about it, like, you know, he's not gonna sway me or whatever. But she's really enjoying the show. She's really into it, and then she turns and she sees that he's staring at her. And one thing that Addie has shown throughout is that she kind of can tell his moods by the color of his eyes. So when they're like a light green, there's a reason for it. When it's dark or black, then he's pissed off or whatever. So she kind of knows. So she can see that he's looking at her, and she clocks that he's looking at her with pleasure, as in to say that, yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. But she kind of just looks back to the play and carries on watching. And then she wonders why he did that for her, because it was a nice thing for him to do. Then the end of the year, so we're still going on, and she decides to celebrate the new year this is still the past, and she's in England in the Cotswolds. So she's in somebody's house again, because remember, she's just out here stealing people's houses. So she's in somebody else's house again, and she's just chilling in this house. And Luke turns up, and he's just like, oh, you look so pitiful. Do you want to go to a party? Do you want to do something? How can you just be chilling here? And she's like, I'd rather just chill here. And deep down, she kind of says it in a way where she's like, I'd rather just chill with you here. But she expects him to just disappear, but she turns around, he's still sat there, and he has a glass of wine, and they drink to celebrate the new year. So that is the end of part 5.
Oh, we're still on part 5.
Yeah, the next one is part 6 or 7. It's do not pretend this is love, and I remember you. Any thoughts on this part, Lola?
Yeah, just not much, actually. No. Just I thought it was quite cheap to say all the notable people had made a deal with Luke. Like, come on, all of them. But whatever.
So this 2 parts, I think we could probably summarize quite quickly because, to be fair, I just read the book not too long ago. So in this bit, this is when we clock on about a bit more detail about Henry and this curse. So I'm probably not going to go in the whole back and forth order malark because I don't think they do it too much in this. Oh no, they do, because you see more of the relationship between Luke and Addie. But I'm going to take the people and we'll go that way. So Addie and Luke, so we're still in the past. They're developing this relationship. It's developing to a point where you're just like, something's going on here. I'm trying to remember where it turns. I think she was having... Is this when she's out with someone, another guy, and then he steps in and takes her, and he was just like, he steps in as his human form, basically, and basically takes her away from this guy, and she shows some form of jealousy, which shocks Addie, because she's like, why are you getting jealous? And then he takes her to a bar, they drink, he shows her Sinatra, they dance in front of Sinatra, because obviously they're involved in all the big names, aren't they? So they're dancing in front of Sinatra, and then it gets a bit weird because she says that he just seems to just mold into her body. Although she says at one point, like, might be because he's a shadow, but also, he feels like a body. So he just molds into her. He starts kissing her. He starts kissing trails down her neck, and then they end up in a hotel. And guys, they do the do. She sleeps with Luke, the demon / devil / the stranger / Lucifer.
This is all. It was so bizarre when it just switched to this, because
it was
very quickly. So bizarre because I was like, "What is this? The same book?" Like, it was hinted at before, but when they actually spelled it out, I was like, "What? Okay." Don't you have thousands of other people to be trying to collect their souls? Like, what's going on?
And to be fair, sometimes when he's with her, he'll be like, I just need to go collect the soul. And then he would just like bop off to collect the soul and then come back. But,
like Beethoven.
Yeah, so like so their relationship develops into this sexual relationship. So in the beginning, she's kind of just looking at it as like, this is just a sex thing. Like, it's a way for me to release. And then she clocks on that he's coming round more, so he's come to see her more often. She's just like, I'll try not to fall in love, I'll try not to sleep the night, I'll try not to do these certain things, not to push the boundary to love. But he keeps pushing the boundary. He'll be like, let's go to dinner, let's do this, and it almost becomes a relationship until they get into a argument where it transpires that he was doing all of this because he wanted to prove to her that, look, being in a relationship, you've done it. How does it feel? I tried it. It didn't really make you feel like you wanted to give up your spirit and be with me, or your soul and be with me. It didn't really work. So that's that situation going on. Then you have Henry. So remember this curse, this deal he made? Remember, in September 2013? Yeah. So, it has a time frame. This curse does have a time frame because he gave up his soul. The reason we find this out is because Addie and Henry are out somewhere, or they're together somewhere. And I think it's it's the anniversary of the deal that he makes with she made with Luke. And
she was scared he was gonna pop up.
Yeah, for some reason, not even for some reason, it's what it is. She was very concerned the whole day that he's going to turn up, and she really doesn't want to ruin this. She doesn't want him to take Henry away from her. So she was very anti the whole day. But Henry was just like, look, it'll be fine. I'll have you for the day, and then you can leave me here, and then you can go somewhere else at night to meet him or do whatever you have to do. So they enjoy the day, they go to the beach, they're having a good time, and then she's kind of the opinion of like, I don't want this to end. They're enjoying themselves, they're having a good time at night, and then good old Luke turns up. And he kind of turns up like a jealous ex-boyfriend, And it's kind of, he says some bars like, oh, you guys thought you could keep doing this? Like, you didn't think I knew that this was happening? Like, and then she's kind of just like, please, it's fine, like leave him alone and all this other stuff. And she's like of the opinion of like, I've won, it's worked. And he's just like, well, did he tell you that he doesn't actually have that much time left? And she's like, sorry?
Oh,
what?
yes.
Sorry? And this is where we find out that he made the deal for a year from September 2013. And the watch he had would tick every time the month would go by. So that's why it wasn't a real, like a normal watch. And it would make its way, it would never, even if you tried to get rid of it, it would always find its way back. So this is where we clock on to the time frame. And he has, at this point, 36 days left. So Addie is stressed. She's like, what do you mean? Like, what can we do? Like, how do we resolve this? So she's pissed off with Henry for lying to her. At this point, Luke's buggered off because he's just like, I've dropped the bomb. I'm going to leave you guys to like sort yourselves out. She's kind of like, why did you lie to me? Why didn't you tell me? And he's just like, I can't tell. Like, why would I tell you? I only got a short amount of time, because they were dating from, I think, March or whenever it was. And he's like, I've enjoyed this time, and he's like, I know how it feels to see somebody who has a short life. Like, I think his uncle had cancer, and as soon as his uncle told people that he was going to be dying soon, everybody treated him differently, and he didn't want that. So she's stressed out, scared, and then she's like, do you know what? I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to speak to Luke. It's fine. I'll speak to Luke. I'll get this sorted. And he's like, no, you don't have to do that. Leave it alone. It's fine. It's okay. And she's like, no, I will do. I'll speak to him. So she decides to go and meet him. I forgot to say this, the way for her to meet Luke is that she's got this wooden ring that her dad made for her when she was born, that she's kept the whole time. And I think it was part of the things that she tried to offer up to Luke when she was making the deal. But he was just like, I don't need trinkets or whatever. But she was like, this is all I have. So this ring has been the only item that's actually stayed with her throughout, because every time she tries to keep something, for some reason it just disappears. So that's why she's not been able to accumulate wealth. So this is the only thing that's been staying with her for life, and she's always kept it. And the reason she highlights her disdain for this thing at some point in the book, and I remember thinking, like, why is she so pissed off? Like, I thought this was something you loved, like this was made by your dad. But then the reason why she doesn't like it, we find out near the end, is because at one point, when I think this was after their argument, I think it was either after their argument or before, I can't remember when it was, with Luke, that he said, the way you can get me is if you put that ring on your finger, and then I will show up. So she's tried to get rid of it. It always appears. And that was one thing that happened when they were in a relationship. Luke really tried hard with this weird relationship thing. He even got her a house, because one of the issues she kept having was that she had no home. So he even said to her, he's like, just go home. Like, I'll meet you at home when he goes to reap a soul. And so she was proper in like, oh, I think I'm starting to fall in love with this apparition, because he did that. But in the fight that they have, the house burns down, and that, is part of the symbolism of their relationship. But yes, so back to the present. So she puts this ring on, and she could feel his presence. He's waiting for her. He knocks on the door of Henry's apartment, and Henry's like, you don't have to go. And she's like, I have to. I'm going to do this for you. Just trust me. And then she starts to walk out and follows after Luke. As she's walking out, she says something in the line of the book of like, I wish I didn't, or she says one of those foreboding lines, which annoys me. And then she follows, or she's like, I wish Henry stopped me. So she follows Luke. They go to this rooftop bar, they have dinner, and she tries to be like, please don't kill Henry, or don't take Henry, but he gets angry every time she talks about Henry. And this is where you clock on that, okay, maybe he does love her, because she says, like, I knew you didn't love me. You said you didn't love me. He's just like, I was showing you. He says something like, that's what I was trying to portray to you. Is love really important? You kept saying I don't love you. You kept saying I couldn't show real love. but I was trying to show you what love is and trying to keep you. Then he keeps calling her mine. And then she starts then they keep arguing about the fact that Henry and how this happened. And she's still thinking it's coincidental. He's like, no, babe, this isn't coincidental. I did this on purpose. You thought that you two, with the deals and curses, would just meet up per chance, and she just like her stomach just drops. And he's like, no, I set up purpose. I wanted to show you how fleeting it is to love a human. He's only got a year's lifetime, and he had a chance to make a deal. She's kind of also shown her, like, this is what you get for loving humans. He gets a chance to make a deal, and this is the deal he makes. He wants to be loved by everyone for a short space of time. Do you know how mad that is? So, and she's just like, rah, like, she's like, oh, that, so have you been there all the time? He's like, I've always been around. Like, he keeps saying, and he said this to her quite a few times. That's why when she acts like he's not there, I'm like, he said it to you a lot of times that I'm always there. So
like, she'll talk as if you can't hear what she's saying, or say stuff, like it's a secret.
He's just like, no, I've always known, I've always been there. You thought you were smart and all this other stuff. So it's a lot of back and forth, and then they come to a conclusion that she's going to. Did she make a deal here? She says that she wants to make a deal, but we don't see the ramifications of this deal until the end. So
which is the next part.
Part 7. So we finally get back to Henry. She's able to get back to Henry, and she clocks that she's wasted, I think, 7 days or something being with Luke, and which she's pissed off with because he only had 36 days left. So she gets back to him. Henry looks a mess. He's like depressed and stressed, and he's like, finally she's here. Because obviously for him, he's just like, look, I told you, I've only got 36 days left and you've disappeared. So they now spend the rest of his time together. She's just making his life as good as it can be for the last 25 or how many other days left. He goes to meet his friends B and Robbie, and basically says, like, look, I'm gonna be at my parents for a bit, so just so you're aware, if one of you can look after the bookshop or one of you can look after the cat, because they've got a cat in the bookshop. And then they're just like, yeah, sure, like, and he's just like, yeah, this is the best way to say goodbye. So he's thinking about death. He's contemplating the fact that death, so we see all of this from his point of view. He's thinking about leaving Addie, and he's just upset about everything, but he's just like, at least my last days are going to be like a good time, spending a good time. Then they go to the roof where, well, they say roof, and they keep talking about the fact that he wanted to kill himself, but he made the deal with Luke on his doorstep, I thought. Or maybe it was
because they were getting drunk. He was drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm a bit like, but maybe I don't know. But yeah, so they go back to the place where he made a deal with Luke, and it's the top of a building, and he's kind of thinking, like, how's it going to go? How's it going to end? How is he going to reap my soul? All this other stuff. And Addie's just there, and she's talking to him, and he's just like, he can't understand what she's saying, or she can't hear her, and she's talking at him. And then he clocks on, and then he can hear her, and she's basically like, oh, please remember me or something, because we find out that she had made a deal with Luke, and the deal was that he would swap this whole deal, get rid of the deal with Henry and this curse. Her only hope is that he'll continue to remember her, and she will remain with what's this guy, Luke, for as long as he wants her. So she makes this deal. He says deal. He's happy because he's weirdly obsessed with having her. So we have that happen, and then you now come to present day with Henry. He's made a manuscript of all of the stuff that Addie wrote through him, and he's titled it. Has he titled it "Where is Addie La Rue?" or or is it just "Invisible Life of Addie La Rue"?
I think it's "The Invisible Life of Addie La Rue" or something like that. Yeah,
or Addie La Rue. Yeah. So he's done that for her. He's, I think, even her photographs. I think her photographs were, when every part there's a picture or something that she's inspired. In part 7, it's her photographs that are used as the artist thing, and there's wording about it. But yeah, so he's talking to B about this, and she's just like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And the way he's ended it is very like it's a cliffhanger. You don't know what's happening. Or cliffhanger? It's cliffhanger. You don't know what's happening because obviously she's just disappeared. So he doesn't know what's happened to Addie. Is she happy? Is she okay? Is she with Luke? Are they living their best lives? And then we go to Luke and Addie. So Addie's in a bookshop and she sees this book that's just called The Invisible Life of Addie La Rue with no author. And she sees that loads of people are talking about it and there's loads of copies on the shelf. And she's like, oh, wow, like he's actually done it. And then Luke turns up with his arms around her shoulders. It's like, oh, so you did try to do something coy after, just before you left. And she does this whole weird. It reminded me of, with Thriller, the Michael Jackson movie, where he turns back and the laughter is like,
literally. I was like, why are you so smug? You have lost. He wanted your soul. He got it. Like, what do you think? Why would he get bored of having your soul? I was so confused about how she thought she made a loophole.
So Lola's saying about the loophole. So basically, when she made this new deal, she said that she will stay with him for as long as he will have her. So in her mind, as long as he's bored of her, as soon as he becomes bored of her or doesn't want her around or is he fed up with her, then she's free and she'll be out of the contract. But like Lola said, he's been doing this for 300 years. So I don't know how she thinks she's going to get him to a point where he's bored. Because bearing in mind, he's not human. I know they say gods are fickle.
Exactly. He's not human. And he wanted your soul, not your, like you said, it's not just your life. It's your, like the whole thing. It's your soul. Like he wants your whole thing. What does he want it for? No one knows. Like he keeps making all these deals for souls. Who knows what he uses them for? You just entered the deal with the devil again.
Again. And I'm just like, now you're just there. You're now his queen. So yeah. And that, guys, is the end of the book. So yeah. Lola, good luck cutting this shit down because we were talking for ages about this plot points thing.
Yeah, I didn't like that. And then how she felt so smug. I didn't think she won, actually. I thought I was
I don't think she won either. I don't think she won because what you wanted was, I think, is what you wanted was Henry. You don't have Henry. But then again, did she want Henry or did she just want to be remembered forever? If that's the case, she did win because there's a book now out about her. She has made a mark somehow. But I was a bit like, oh, is that the end? Oh. So far, there's not been very many books that have had really good endings. It's very frustrating at the moment.
Isn't it? The ending's hard. It's a hard one.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Because you're right, like, it is a hard thing. Because I would have been annoyed if for some reason they were able to beat Luke. Do you know what? I wouldn't have minded if Henry just died like he was supposed to. And she was sad. Yeah. She was sad. And then Luke turned up and was just like, see Adeline or see Addie? This is how human life is fleeting. And that would have been the end. And I'd be like, yeah, that's the invisible life of Addie La Rue.
The book started off so big with the potential where it can go. And then it just focused in on this love triangle that no one asked for. And it was just like, okay. And like you said, she was a spy at one point. There was so much going on in the background and we're still focusing on about this Henry deal. No one cares about his deal. We're still trying to figure out Addie's deal.
For real. Let's figure out the aspects of Addie's deal. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I rated it a 3. I'm not saying I hate the book. I didn't hate the book. I've rated quite a few books that we've read so far.
Yeah, three's not bad.
I could potentially read it again just because I had the hindsight, so it'd be interesting to read it again with the hindsight. Would I read it again? No, but I could. But there were things that annoyed. There's things that were missing, and I could see why. Because when I was talking to Lola about this book, there's a lot of reviews about the fact that she missed out on, and I think even one the review that you read was like she missed out on racism, the suffragettes, slavery. There's a lot of big shit that was happening around her. And I'm in an iron about it thinking, but does that matter? Do we need to get into the weeds of the politics? But then again, she was a spy. So, but even in that aspect, she didn't really talk about who were you a spy for, what was going on in the war at that time. So it could have definitely been fleshed out a bit more. Henry's character could have been squeezed down a bit more. Like even Toby the songwriter, I think was more impactful than Henry, who was with her for a big chunk of the book.
Literally, I
And
thought that's what it was gonna be when we met Henry, and then we kept going, and then we did all of this drama with it, and I was like, okay, nah, you could have kept it like Toby, like how she's figuring out how to make an impression and stuff.
So yeah, what did you rate it?
Yeah, a 3, but it could have easily been a 2, to be honest. But yeah, but I did like her. I did like the jumping back and forth. I like how she managed that, and then I did like the old period. It's just and I liked the Luke character. It's just everyone else I didn't like.
Yeah, because I think Luke was, although I don't know about, but to be fair, he doesn't really know, and he said he doesn't know what love is.
Yeah.
But I actually appreciated Luke's character. Yeah, he's just like, this is what I can do. Why not? Addie, on the other hand, she kept thinking that she can one-up him, and that's why even at the end I was just like, babe,
he can wait forever
to one-up him.
Like he can wait forever. Like, I don't know why you think you won when he was playing that long game. And
I don't know, but yeah, I just but I kind of wish some of the stories, the side characters, or maybe there should have been less side character stories, because it was kind of like you introduce a side character and then it's like, okay, well, they're gone, like Remy and Sam, and that's why I didn't really talk too much about them.
Yeah.
But
and then, like you said, like, oh, I get demons can be fickle, but when has Luke ever shown he was fickle? Like, when has he ever shown he's one of them demons or whatever? And also, all these talk of old gods and new gods, and like, yeah, we talked about the fact that the main character's religion, Catholic, oh my God, Christianity and Judaism. But like, I really thought we would have known more about the other gods besides just Luke. Like, how does like explain more what Luke is and what his goal was. But then, I guess you didn't really have to. But yeah, I don't like the direction it went with all that potential. Like gas in a tank, and it just went off a cliff.
Yeah. It just was like, it did seem like I was just like, oh no, wait. Oh, they gone. They're gone.
And Addie she started off like endearing a little bit.
Not even. She was annoying from the get-go.
Yeah, she was annoying from the get-go. But it started off like, okay, whatever. And then it was like, nah, what? Who are you, mate? Like, sit down. I feel like you're too stupid. Like, even the way you think things through, I don't see this genius that you think you are, that you've outsmarted demon. With what loophole? How's he gonna get bored of you? He doesn't want you for love. You want love.
Yes.
He wants you as a little plaything. Like, you can just be there. What do you mean to him? Like, how's he gonna get bored of you? I don't really understand that. You're a human. He's not. He's putting this human facade on for you.
What is the aspect of this whole staying with him? Because couldn't he just disappear and leave you alone again?
He can leave you in the void.
Are you stuck by his side? Like, I don't.
Do you think you become a god? How do you escape this? I'm so confused. Like,
and now you're stuck with him. At least before you could just be free.
And then if you get bored, your original deal, does that still hold? Yeah, it was just, I didn't like the ending, and because it was from her point of view, she was so smart. I'm
telling you, it reminded me of Thriller, where Michael Jackson turns back like, and I was just like, oh, babes, oh, okay, if you say so.
Madness. But should we get into read reviews and get out of here in the last 8 minutes?
Let's do it. Read receipts. These are the short read receipts. So we did longer versions on the part A. So we'll do the short versions here. Do you want? I'll do the good.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go.
All right. So Alice said she read this in January 24. I know I'm in the minority here, so I'm doing the bad. But God, this was long. This was so long, and it dragged, and I don't understand how a character who lives for 300 years stays the same throughout all of it. Not my jam. And then, wow,
that was nice.
Someone said, agree, couldn't finish. And yay, finally someone shares my feelings about this book. Because we have to say that this book is talked about. It is predominantly likes. This is just out.
I think the average rating for this is like 4.7 or something.
Yeah, 4.17. Jeez, 4.7 is crazy.
Sorry. Yeah, 4.17 with 1.4 million ratings.
Yes.
So yeah,
well received.
So here's a good 5-star rating. It's by Addie Goodwin, 9th of July 24. I'm sobbing. It was so good, such a unique story. I kept putting myself in Addie's shoes and also thinking about what choices I would make. I was doing that as well. I was a bit like, what would I do in this situation?
I would do this. About?
I don't know why they're crying. I actually don't know why they're crying. Because I don't think anything here was sad. I think the saddest part was when you go to her past and she was struggling. But you know, I would live my life if I had Addie's curse, immortality, and the inability to be remembered by anyone once out of their sight. It also touched on so many topics that I feel like I'm still processing. Okay. Mortality, morality, mental health, memory, life's purpose, identity, etc. And it's so beautifully written. This is my first V.E Schwab book and won't be my last. Other things I loved, Addie and Henry, she does the hands heart thing and crying emoji. Addie and Luke's complicated relationship that I would read an essay on. Okay, I will stop gushing and leave you with my favorite quote from the book, although there are so many good ones. Listen to me, life can feel very long sometimes, but in the end it goes so fast. You better live a good life. Oh, that was a quote that Addie left with Henry when she was leaving him. But yeah.
I guess I didn't pick up on those subtext about like how deep and profound it was about mortality and morality.
Because I don't think it was.
Nah, but maybe I don't know.
It didn't get deep on it touched on things, like even the mental health thing, it touched on it. And it touched on the fact that he was self-medicating, but we didn't really solve anything.
We didn't circle back, close it off, round it off. No, none of that.
And then all of a sudden he's fine. Like he could just write books about Addie and hope that she's well.
Yeah, because they were codependent and trauma bonding.
Which should be quite a big shock for him, unless he's seeing a therapist. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I was a bit like, oh, okay. All right, if you say so. So I don't think they delved into anything, really. They just touched on it.
Yeah. All righty.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas. And a happy new year, guys. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas holiday or happy holidays or whatever you're celebrating at this point of the year. And we will definitely meet you in the new year with a new book. Thank you for everything so far.
Jingle bells.
Toodles.
Mariah Carey. Mariah, she's on fire.
Merry Christmas. Oh, and also, guys, remember to like, share, subscribe, follow, 5-star ratings, all the good things. At least give us a little present for Christmas. I remember it's 5 stars only. Or
Kim will
we
pass you.
will pass you. Okay?
Bye.
Toodles. Merry Christmas.